It's Krista Dennett, pelvic floor exercise specialist. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the Core Support Band by DripFit to help with diastasis recti. Please take a moment to review the disclaimer. Before I get started with this video, take a moment and subscribe to my channel so you can stay on top of everything related to your pelvic floor health and exercise and movement. Let's first quickly talk about diastasis rectus abdominis. Diastasis recti means separation of the abdominal muscles. Research has shown that every woman who's had a baby has had diastasis recti. The abdominals need to separate in order for our baby to grow. They separate because the connective tissue that holds them together, known as the linea alba, stretches and thins. So what we want to pay attention to is how are those tissues healing in postpartum? And how long are they taking to heal? Pelvic floor exercise rehab is a strategy, an important strategy to help heal diastasis recti. However, the integrity of that connective tissue can compromise your progress, and that's where this core support band is going to come into play. Regaining the tone and integrity of your linea alba or connective tissue is simply meaning it coming back together and becoming more tense or have more tension and improve on its thickness. So like I said, it thinned, so we want it to come back together and thicken up again. Sometimes we are left with what we call doming of the belly, where the whole belly pops up like a balloon, or you might notice it as you're walking around. You feel like you still have a pregnant belly or a mummy tummy, and that can be something that continues on far past our early stages of postpartum. The other thing that women notice is something called bulging. Bulging is where the abdominals pop up, maybe doing a curl up, all along that connective tissue in the belly. It also may be isolated to either above or below the belly button. Now, research has also shown that we need to load that inner core in order to help it heal. But if we're battling against a weak and thin connective tissue and lack of support, that can make it challenging. This is where something like the DripFit Core Support Band comes into play. We're going to use it to help support that connective tissue so we can load it up with exercise and help it heal, therefore regaining its tone, thickness, and integrity. All right, let's get started on introducing how to use the DripFit Core Support Band and a couple of movements that you can try using the band as well. Let's have a look at the Core Support Band by DripFit. Its original purpose, or one of its original purposes, was to provide some lumbar support for low back pain. So the back is wide with some nice boning in it. The front is a little more narrow and it has two Velcro straps, the main strap and then two smaller straps to increase or decrease the amount of tension. Now that's something key here. We don't want to cinch this tight. This is not a core trainer. And in fact, if we have it too tight, it can compromise the function of our inner core because it mismanages then our intra-abdominal pressure and will put pressure on our pelvic floor. And we want to avoid that. Now, if you are experiencing doming, and one of the ways you can test that is to lie on your back and do a quick curl up test. And if you notice your entire belly popping up, then that's what's called doming. Your ribs might flare and your low back kind of lifts more off the ground. Bulging is where we lift up and there's this line that pops up along our connective tissue, the linea alba. Now it could be all along the connective tissue or it can isolate to the bottom or top of the connective tissue, so below, at, or above the belly button. So you want to have a look at that. And if that's the case, if you have the long bulge or doming, we're going to put this band on backwards. We're going to take advantage of the width at the back and the boning to help support our core. So to do that, I'm going to wrap this around backwards. Okay, so it's a little tricky to get this one on like that. But what you're going to do is you're going to take a breath in, so kneel down or sit down, and you want to take a breath in, make sure your domes are in alignment, head, diaphragm, pelvic dome, so we have a nice good aligned structure. And I'm going to take a breath in, and I want to make sure that it's not so tight that it is too much pressure when I'm taking that inhale. So I'm going to inhale And I gently feel my ribs expand into the band, so that feels good. And then exhale, and I'll strap it up there. Then I'll adjust these side bands, not too much. Same thing, I'm just gonna add a little bit of tension to them, and I'm gonna just pause for a moment, making sure that I can breathe in. And all I can feel is the ribs expanding into the band, and as I exhale, the band loosens up on me. So then you know you've got it on well and not too tight. Now, how do we load up that core, that inner core and those connective tissues? Well, we can do that by making movements with our legs, and our legs become the dumbbell. Now, how you need to coordinate your breath and contraction in movement is extremely important for how you're going to help heal pelvic floor function and that connective tissue. So just hanging out with this band on is not going to help. We have to load up the tissues, and doing so with the right technique. And that technique is we inhale into our ribs and our back. Belly doesn't want to blow up like a balloon, right? We just want to feel some tension in the band. And then exhale, contract that pelvic floor, just like so. Now we had to add movement in it. So level 1, where we have no weight at all, just coordination, I would make my leg fall out to the side, and then the other leg fall out to the side in coordination with breath. So it's exhale, contract the pelvic floor. Through the remainder of the exhale, I'm going to move my leg. Once I've got that coordination, then I'm going to add more load to that inner core by different leg movements. So leg movements can consist of leg slide, so alternating legs, and then we get a little more challenging, bent leg march. Now, every time that I'm moving a limb, I am thinking about exhale, contract the pelvic floor. Through the remainder of the exhale, move my leg. Now, the next level is to make this even more challenging. When I bring one leg up on an exhale, and then I want to take an inhale here, it's going to feel a little bit harder to get a nice smooth inhale because my inner core is working to stabilize this leg up here. So now I want to exhale, make sure I have good support, and then lift that other leg. Now this is where you would notice, especially without the band, that maybe your belly domes up and your ribs would flare like this as you're trying to get that leg up. So we want to work on control before we move. And of course, this is going to feel challenging because that inner core, chances are, is on the weaker side. So don't be concerned if you pop up. We do have the support of this band so that we're not compromising those connective tissues with this movement. So that would be another option. The next one is to have the legs to start and then do a heel dip. And then we can transition to dead bugs. And then we can start to transition to curl ups. All the while having this band on to help support that connective tissue while we're applying load to help heal. The other position that you can use this band in is on all fours or in plank positions. Gravity comes into play here when we are in what we call a prone or facing down position. Gravity puts pressure on that connective tissue because our internal organs are now resting on it. So again, this band will help, especially in the early stages of healing that diastasis and those weak connective tissues. So from here, we can work on coordinating with leg movements, make it more challenging, make it into a bird dog, make it more challenging. Something called the crouching tiger, where we lift our knees up slightly off the ground. And then, of course, going into plank positions and progressing from there. Having this support band is important, but also, like I said, coordinating your breath, pelvic floor contraction in that movement is key to be a well-rounded strategy for helping heal those connective tissues. The other way to wear this band is on it as its intended purpose, so bringing it around to the front. So let's say you have a bulge more above your belly button. So I would line up the strap above the belly button. Same thing here, I'm just going to loosen off these ones first. So I'm going to hold it where my bulge is. Exhale, wrap it around, make sure it's nice and even, good. Then I'm gonna make sure I can breathe. No pressure on the pelvic floor, great. Let's add in these other straps, just gentle. And that feels good right there. And then the same thing, I'm going to go into different positions and work on retraining my pelvic floor in movement, adding load to that inner core and helping heal those connective tissues that are creating or making that diastasis not heal, or not allowing that diastasis to heal. And that is how I would recommend you can use the DripFit Core Support Band to help you in the healing process of those connective tissues for your diastasis. Now, don't forget, 2 important key things here. This should not be cinched tight. You should be able to feel your ribs expand gently as you're breathing in. No pressure on the pelvic floor. You also need to make sure you know how to contract your pelvic floor with breath and movement. If you're unsure about that, please make sure you find a pelvic floor physical therapist or have a look at the link below on my self-directed Diastasis Recti pelvic floor exercise rehab program. All right, hopefully you're able to pull out some information from this video to help you with your Diastasis Recti. Don't forget, in the comments below, I've put a link how you can work with me virtually or follow along my exercise rehab program specific to Diastasis Recti. If you found this video helpful, please also give it a thumbs up, maybe add a comment below. And don't forget, for staying on top of videos that I do with respect to pelvic floor health and exercise and movement, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.